When Doctor Who celebrated its 10th anniversary during the Jon Pertwee era, it was decided to do something different. The final product, the serial titled The Three Doctors, not only lifted the third Doctor's exile on Earth, but also brought back William Hartnell and Patrick Troughton, the first two actors to take on the role of the Doctor. This tradition not only continued with the 20th anniversary special The Five Doctors, but also the later 6th Doctor serial The Two Doctors, and the non-canon charity special Dimensions in Time, and most recently the short Children in Need special Time Crash. When Big Finish Productions first obtained their license to produce their own Doctor Who audios, they followed this example, and brought together Peter Davison, Colin Baker and Sylvester McCoy as the 5th, 6th and 7th Doctors for their first serial, The Sirens of Time. The adventure has each of the 3 different incarnations of the Doctor having their own adventure in each of the first 3 episodes, before being united to defeat an enemy threatening Gallifrey and working together in the last instalment. The foe they must defeat is a group of entities that thrive on damage to the timeline and can slave people to its will, which is its plan with each of the Doctors. They take the form of a young woman to each of the different incarnations it encounters, appealing to the side of the Doctor that wants to help people. They are almost successful in conquering Gallifrey until the Doctors put aside their petty differences and work together, defeating them and setting history on the correct path, restoring Gallifrey to normalcy. The next crossover of this type was a little different, and was done to mark the 40th anniversary of Doctor Who. After the success of their classic Doctors, Big Finish commissioned a new set of adventures for the 8th Doctor. Again portrayed by Paul McGann, he was given a new companion, Charlie Pollard, portrayed by India Fisher, whose life was the main arc of the 8th Doctor's first few seasons of stories. Saved from certain death from the crash of the R101, Charlie's continued existence would prove to be a paradox, as she had been destined to die in the crash. The fact she was still alive began to cause havoc on the web of time, until finally both she and the Doctor were brought to Gallifrey. It was eventually showed that Charlie was being used as a portal by entities from another dimension outside of time to infiltrate ours. The Doctor and Charlie were successful in stopping their invasion, but at the seeming cost of the Doctor, who had become possessed by a force that had turned him into a Gallifreyan childhood nightmare called Zagreus. Zagreus is also the name given to the follow-on serial, in which the 8th Doctor meets manifestations of his previous selves, who help him combat his possession and reattain his own individual mind. Like in Sirens of Time, each Doctor appears in a particular episode of the overall serial before being reunited in the final part. However, none of the previous incarnations realise they are the Doctor until Charlie recognises them as such, believing themselves to be characters the TARDIS has given them in the strange landscapes it's showing Charlie throughout the serial. Not only does it feature all the Doctors who have performed for Big Finish, but it also features appearances from various companions throughout Who history. The last crossover talked about in today's show is the joint 6th and 7th Doctor story Project Lazarus, which is a follow-up to a previous 6th Doctor adventure. In Project Twilight, the Doctor and his companion Evelyn encounter a group of human vampires and make the acquaintance of a young girl named Cassie. These vampires were the accidental result of a super soldier program during the First World War era, created by a secret government organisation called the Forge. By the end of the adventure, Cassie has been transformed into one of their number, and both the Doctor and Evelyn promise to return to her one day with a cure. The first 2 episodes of Project Lazarus resume the story 3 years later from Cassie's perspective, where she has now become an operative for the Forge, and helps take the Doctor and Evelyn captive. The Doctor is tortured for the secrets of regeneration, but Evelyn manages to break through the brainwashing Cassie has undergone, and together they manage to save the Doctor. However, the effort costs Cassie her life and leads to a rift forming between the Time Lord and his companion. The story continues, but now from the 7th Doctor's perspective, when a temporal anomaly draws him back to the Forge and he is reunited with Nimrod. Nimrod, a character introduced in Project Twilight, is not only another vampire who commands the Forge, and was responsible for Cassie's vampirism and later death, but also the original experiments that created the vampires. The Doctor is shocked to discover himself, or rather his 6th incarnation, now acting as the Forge's scientific advisor, as he has no memory of this. The Forge comes under alien attack, and the 6th Doctor is grievously wounded. This leads to the truth being uncovered. The apparent 6th Doctor is just a clone, created by blood samples to study regeneration, but when the clones proved incapable of this, but retained memories and skills, the surviving one was made part of the staff. When the clone discovers he is in fact one of a huge number of clones that have been used over the years, the mental cries of his other selves, used for experimentation, drives him mad. The 7th Doctor is forced to flee the base as his previous self's clone activates a self-destruct, and though he leaves believing the Forge destroyed, Nimrod has survived and is already activating the secondary facility. All these adventures give the later actors like Sylvester McCoy and Paul McGann a chance to interact with the actors who portrayed the character of the Doctor before them. Zagreus almost acts as a way of passing the torch from the previous three selves onto their successor, whereas Sirens of Time was a great way for Big Finish to launch their own Doctor Who adventures without piling the responsibility on one Doctor. Project Lazarus was a way to resolve a storyline which also reuses a villain who had proved popular, and examine just how far the Forge would go to pursue its agenda to better humanity with alien technology. With actors getting older, live-action multi-Doctor stories become less likely without a contrite explanation to explain the aged appearance. The magic of audio means that as long as the scripts continue to hold on to the standard they deliver out today, these adventures can continue to happen and allow listeners a proper chance to experience a variety of the Doctors in action together.